Kazanacak kadar büyükler oldu.
We are going to make all the democratic reforms as defined within our EU accession process. And we will collaborate with our European counterparts on different domains. We will adopt the necessary reforms in social rights, public procurement, fighting against corruption, independence of judiciary, in every domains of democracy, you name it. So this is what we're going to do. And when it comes to NATO, rightly so, Turkey is a member of NATO and a strong member of NATO, but we will honor it. We don't think this membership is being honored enough under the current government, because under the current government, for the last 2 decades, all these avenues and the channels of corporations opened. They were opened already, but they were destroyed by this government. They were used for the domestic political gains, for as a tool at the hands of the current government. We are not going to follow this route, basically, because we have ideals. We believe that Turkey deserves much better governance than this. We define ourselves as Europeans. Obviously, our country has a great influence in the Middle East as well as a region, as well as in Balkans. So we will bring back Turkey's potential and we will turn it into a performance. So you will see a much different Turkey, much different profiles in terms of politicians, much different governance style. Inclusive, participatory. In our program, we already defined the strengthened parliamentary system. Turkey is not going to be any more representative democracy. It's going to be a participatory democracy, and we will deepen it. We will allow our citizens to be part of our decision-making processes, our governance process.
Well, we talked about what the change that is proposed, what it will be, but the question is who is going to be part of this change. So maybe, Murat, can you give us a bit of an overview of the electoral history of the diaspora, both in Europe, or if you have any info on the diaspora, the Turkish diaspora in Belgium, what have they voted for, what are their leniencies, and what are they interested in this election?
Thank you, Nima, and thanks again for hosting us here, because it's thanks to you that we are all around the table today. And Ilhan also just asked me to apologize one more time, and he has a blank check for you to host you and all our guests in European Parliament whenever we want. So thanks for that. I mean, it's a complicated story about especially Turkish diaspora living in the EU countries and their political choices. In the last 20 years, it's clear that they've been supporting AKP, but then there are also some cliches about it and some misperceptions as well. So, for example, in Belgium, in the last elections in 2018, that was a record for AKP. They got 64.3%. That's also a record among all EU countries, among Turkish community of around 220 to 450,000. It includes also, of course, ethnic Turks, Kurds, others, other minorities as well. So, out of this 250,000, only 124,000 of them are registered as voters. And AKP got 48,000 of the votes. So, actually, when you compare this vote with the registered voters, then it makes 33%. If you see 48% compared with the 250,000 Turks, then it's even a smaller number. So that's why it's important to put it into perspective. And also, obviously, in a democracy, all votes matter. But for example, in Belgium, I'm asked very regularly by journalists about how decisive Turkish community in Belgium and abroad playing a role. I mean, 48,000 is also about like a street in Istanbul. There are more voters in some Istanbul streets. So it is important, every vote matters, and votes abroad really matter as well, but we should put it in that perspective as well. And we need to understand why they were supporting AKP and whether this support continues or will continue as well. And we need to understand their background. Obviously, some of the Turks, at least living abroad, they come from more rural areas, more conservative backgrounds. But also, especially in 70s and 80s, they were really targeted by a particular ideological group, political Islam. Because also Milli Görüş, which is also the organization Erdogan raised in Turkey, it was established actually in Germany. And they were very strong in Belgium, in the Netherlands, in Austria, and many EU countries. So as they were the most organized group, they also managed to reach out to Turks and change their minds as well. But we see that also with new generations, this is also changing. I mean, it's the same in Turkey. Like many young people, even if they come from conservative families, obviously they see all these freedoms, and they just would like to live just like other young people. So we see that change, and I think eventually this is going to bring a change too. I mean, also seeing so many Turkish origin members in Emirates, young members, university students and all, I think that's also a very good sign. Because there's also a strange thing in Belgium especially, but not only, that many Turks, they've been supporting AKP in Turkey, but then the Socialist Party here. So that's also a strange phenomenon. And I believe that the Liberal Party has a lot to offer to Turks as well, because, I mean, the educated ones anyway, they are more liberal-minded maybe, but also others, actually, they are true entrepreneurs. I mean, they came to this country as workers, and most of them have their own businesses. I mean, some of them very small businesses, some of them bigger ones, factories and everything, and they have this entrepreneurial mind. So actually, even though they vote for socialism, they complain about the tax and the company laws and everything in this country. So it's a more matter of reaching out to them, I think. Probably that's something the Liberal Party should do more. But also, I would like to talk about a bit about whether a liberal Turkey is possible, because that will have also consequences for Turks abroad too. Because there we have another cliche. I mean, of course, Turkey has major economic issues, and that's one of the reasons people are going away from AKP. But also, you mentioned 6 million young voters. We see that the support to AKP is lower and lower among young people. When you go at the younger ones, the support level is decreasing. So, and one of the reasons is that there is a strong demand also for a liberal Turkey. How we see that? We see that also when we see how they're organized and what they want. Turkey has major problems in terms of democracy, rule of law, fundamental rights, but even under such an environment, civil society is really very strong and very well organized. And that's also one of the reasons, even if the elections are not maybe fair, but they're still free to a large extent. It's not fair because government is using all governmental resources to campaign, while the others are very restricted, both in terms of media access, but also campaigning. But it is free because there is an organized society, and especially young people. I mean, imagine a country, 500,000 people, and mostly young people, they are registered as volunteer observers. Imagine a country, 80,000 lawyers are registered now to check the vote boxes. And they are just volunteers, they are not the ones appointed by the state as official observers. So
it's a special situation for Ukraine, but you know, the reality is that it's not possible for Ukraine to become member of European Union at least 10 years. At least 10 years, but we made a lot of things, a lot of agreement and discussion. But for the French president, for example, it's not realistic to have Ukraine a member of European Union. And I think it's important to give the right signal and to be honest in the relationship with others. If you don't realize that, the result is that the people in the country, for example, Turkey, could be more radical at the end, because the people don't like that you joke with them. And it could be a little bit, it's not all the responsibility from us, but it's one point in the change of policies in Turkey. And for the rest, my last point, I think that for the moment, the situation in Turkey could be very difficult after the election. I say that at the beginning, but there is a mission of Council of Europe, and normally I have to go, but with my agenda it's not possible in Turkey to check election, because there is a real risk of fraud, because with this president now, we never know, but for example, he's not very cool with press, with opposition. There is some people in jail because they are just opponents. It's not a good indication for democracy and for good election with a pure result and an honest result. So be aware about that, and it is an important point. But more than that, and I don't want to be more drama than necessary, but if there is a coalition with the situation of the army, I don't know, but we never know. We never know after the election if there is some more violent opposition into the territory. It's the reason why I think that the European Union, United States, all the members of NATO have to be careful about the situation in Turkey and to have a good relationship about respect, because we have to respect the result, we have to respect the country, we have to respect the institution of Turkey, and whatever the result is not our job normally. But before the election, I think it's really important to give the good messages. No false promise, but also good indication for the rest, because you know the position of Turkey is an international strong position. It's an international strong position because there is the army, important, and the geographic position. Because for Europe, the question of migration, for example, is one of the major cards of Erdogan with the relationship with Europe, and the question now with Ukraine and Russia is another card more. So it's important to be very attentive now and not waiting and say, okay, there is an election, but it's not my business. Okay, it's not our business, but the consequences could be our business. In that case, I think the situation now is really important for everyone. But nobody believes now that the statute of candidate means something. It means nothing, because candidate for what? So I think it's more honest and better for democracy in Turkey to say, okay, we manage a special agreement with European Union and Turkey with facilities, like perhaps not in the same level, but like with Norway and European Union, for example. Switzerland have a special statute also. I think it's better to work about that than to speak with legends, you know, perhaps you are a candidate, perhaps one time I will be president of France. But I think I have more chance to become one day president of France than Turkey, a member of the European Union. Because
I'm fine with France.
No, but I can move. I can move and take nationality. You know, it's easier. And the second point about army, because I like Macron, and I think it's not just a dream. The position of Macron, in my point of view, is a question of a new European division into a NATO. And I think it could be a game changer, because for the moment there is the biggest United States, there is Turkey with the special position, and for the rest there is a lot of little countries. The position could be changed if there is United States, Turkey with the special position, and European Union with one army, one organization, you know. But you are totally right. The army of European Union can do nothing without NATO. But I think it's not an opposition between NATO in one side and European army in other side. I think it's just a question to be stronger into NATO, and at the end of the day, NATO could be stronger with this partnership, with this division, European division into the NATO.
Sorry.
We are not talking about today. So with the realities of today, you know, the decline in democracy and the, you know, freedom of independence of judiciary, freedom of speech, etc. With those realities, we cannot judge the future of Turkey's EU accession. This is first thing. Tomorrow's Turkey, once Turkey, no country, can join the European Union without complying with the acquis communautaire, the criteria. Do we agree about it? So, this Turkey, this country, is going to comply with these criteria, which means there isn't much difference than religion, predominant religion in the country. If the argument is a country predominantly Muslim cannot be a member of the European Union, even if it is a full-fledged European democracy, it's a great functioning economy, socio-economic system, great people, young population, everything, all the contributions this country can make to the European Union to make it a competitive union on the global stage, this is another matter. And I don't think it is part of our ideology, it is the ideology of other kinds. As Democrats in the European Union, as Democrats in Turkey, we believe it, we believe in it, it's not a dream, it's a very realistic project. This is why Turkey started EU negotiations. This is why Jacques Chirac said Turkey, once it joins the European Union, will bring the critical power and the size the European Union needs. This is the political vision we need in European leaders. This is what we expect.
It's pretty clear there. So do you agree on what the President has to say, and also on Murat's rebuttal?
I fundamentally disagree. Thank you very much for reality. Yeah, thank you very much for the reality check, right? Because we need this reality check. Reality is important, and reality is Europe. The European project cannot sustain as a really global power without Turkey. That's clear. That's clear because of the aging population, because of military power, and as an actor, Turkey, as a European actor, its influence, whether European Union will really embrace this power to make it part of it, and together they will play an important role on the global stage, or it's going to be small in hours. This is going to be just a toy project. It's going to be a toy project. It's not going to be a global project. It's not going to be the European project, at least we, Turkish Democrats, have in mind. That's where, actually, our motivation comes from. So it's not a dream. It's not an unrealistic expectation. And if we will check the reality or the credibility of arguments, then we have to look at the European Union. We have to look at the European Union as a rule-based system. If it's a rule-based system, just remember, Morocco applied for the EU membership, rejected, right? Said another European country. And Turkey is still in the negotiation accession process. And once Turkey complies all the criteria, Turkey is a European democracy at the EU standards, rule of law, freedom of speech in every domain in the acquis communautaire. Then at that point, if the European Union said, oh no, still, we don't want Turkey, that's something else. But until that moment, obviously, we will upgrade our country's democracy. We will upgrade our country's socio-economic system. We will provide the best possible standard to our citizens. Not for the European Union, by the way. We have no complex in front of the European Union, so we don't need to prove ourselves to the European Union. We want all these standards because these are the highest standards in the world in those domains. But at that point, once Turkey is a full-fledged democracy, full-fledged European democracy, already, by the way, integrated very well within the European Union. That's why my party is a member of Party of European Socialists. And also my country.
I think it's a mistake. It's your mistake. Okay.
You'll see.
Renew is the party to be in.
And in Renew, maybe sometime soon, you will see one of our coalition partners as a member, because we are a European country and we are an accession country, because the European political umbrella political parties has this rule in their status. So it's not a credibility for Turkey or those Democrats who are arguing that they want and they will make it happen. Turkey will be a member of the European Union. It's not realistic on our end. It is really unrealistic. At the end of the European Union, those who are arguing that even Turkey is ready, we won't accept this country as a full member.
So I think it is important to let the country manage the election with no international pressure. I think it's not a good way for Turkey, for population, because the people don't like if a foreign country say you have to vote in this way or in other way. It could be a drama for you. So if Erdogan if Erdogan is elected, the relation is the same than now, but we would see the other position, because I think that if Erdogan is elected again, the situation of the regime change totally. I think it's a possibility. And if the regime change, in that case the relationship change also. It is normal, but it's not fair to change your position with the result of election. You have to change your position with political decision. And we will see after that, because it is not possible, it's a fiction, it is not a reality, but it's possible after the election that Erdogan say, okay, it's very close, so I change totally, and I go back to democracy and to rights for people and things like that. It is not possible to presume at the beginning. Yeah, you can feel a direction, but it's not serious to take political decision just about a feeling or an analysis. It's important to take the decision after the reality and other decisions. And just quickly into your position, yeah, it's totally possible. You can give a spatial statue for the moment, and to give some discussion in the other side. And for example, Norway, perhaps one time Norway go into the European Union after the spatial statue. Switzerland, we never know. Perhaps, but for the moment is not concrete. And I think it's important, and especially if there is a victory from the opposition, for the opposition, it is important to give something now and not waiting, because I think we have common interest to realize something together quickly. So thank you very much. I'm very sorry I have to go to RTBF for another point, unemployment in Belgium, and it's a good subject also. Thank you very much.